Welcome to the Repzion Files. Wait, what? Yes, I have been wanting to make this video for a very long time. And I think now that I'm in my 30s, and I started on YouTube in 2007, more than half of my life has been on the internet through YouTube. And today I want to start from beginning to end on some of my own controversies and screw-ups that I've done throughout being on YouTube for over 12 plus years. Some of these things you may already know, or have seen, or have heard. Some of these things you may have not have seen or heard, but I'm gonna recap them and be referencing other videos that I've actually made addressing certain things, whereas other stuff, it's gonna be the first time you've probably ever heard of it. And I wanna make something really abundantly clear. If at any point that you watch this video in full and you feel like you can no longer watch me on YouTube because of something I said roughly 8 years ago, by all means, I understand, I get it. But having started YouTube at age 16 and being super devoutly religious, all that I ask is that you watch this video all the way through, and at the very end, if you are so repulsed that you no longer can watch me, feel free to hit the unsubscribe button. I get it. There's gonna be things that I have said and done when I was a teen that was stupid, cringe, wrong, but what matters is that I learned. And I've always considered myself a fast learner, especially when I'm the one to screw up. Some of these things are gonna be a little bit silly. They're not gonna serve really any relevancy, but if these things ever get brought up in the future of my life online, you can just always reference this video. People can come here, watch it, because there's a lot of owning up to do on things that you may not even know about, and I'm actually bringing more awareness to things that, again, people don't know about for the sake of me trying to be as transparent as possible of half my life being online. But before we begin, special thanks to the amazing sponsor of the channel today. You've heard of them before, Vance Global. If you've never tried Delta 8, well, now is your chance. Cave Cryptic came along and said, listen, Repzion was right. I consider myself a certified stone. Vance Global is pretty fudging good. They have Delta 8, the devil's lettuce, and a pure CBD. If you go to vanceglobal.com right now, you will find that their edibles have a lot of 5-star reviews. These gummies are very yummy. They are all organic, biodegradable, but most of all, these taste absolutely wonderful. Look at these beauties. If you want to try any of these for yourself, you can use my discount code Repzion. You're gonna get 20% off your orders. They ship to all 50 states, and it's legal in all 50 states. I want to be direct as possible. If you are somebody who struggles with pain, or maybe you lack the ability to have a good night's sleep, these pure CBD smokes, these ones do not make you sky high. I really do use this product every single night. On top, if you just really want to get knocked out, their gummies are just as powerful. You'll be out on your rump skin for probably about 5 to 6 hours, and I'm not kidding when I say that. I've received nothing but good reviews from you guys from using these products that I use myself, and if you'd like to support the channel, please click the link down below. Try them out for yourself and get 20% off in doing so. Use code Repzion. So first things first, I used to be really athletic. I used to work out a lot. My parents, when I was a teenager, bought a Bowflex machine. You probably remember those info TV commercials of people exercising on Bowflexes. Well, anyway, I was crazy on that machine. I used it way more than I should, 7 days a week. That was bad for my body. But regardless, I did it when I was teen, get really ripped. And me being an introverted, non-social Christian boy, I would post photos of myself on the internet flexing. Well, it just so happened that a brilliant genius troll thought it would be a great idea to take my original photo that I posted, put it into Photoshop. We're gonna take a zoom in on this photo, and as you can see, if you zoom really look closely, you can see that part of the door frame is slightly twisted. Yeah. That's because whoever took my photo originally, he or she took that photo, altered it, and then submitted it on one of those Tumblr blogs back in the day that had a lot of reblogs on Photoshop images. Now, I don't know how many followers that blog had, but obviously people recognized me and they're like, oh my god, it's Repzion. It's MrRepzion at the time. He photoshopped his arm and a lot of people saw this and people were like, dude, you're so insecure. You photoshopped your own arm. Look at the door frame. It's altered. But I hardly had any following at that point. So the amount of reblogs and messages that I received through Tumblr, social media, Twitter, of people calling me out for photoshopping my body was unimaginable to me. It was a very influx of attention that I didn't know how to deal with. This was sometime between 2009 and I think 2011 when this happened. And one of the biggest things is back in the day, I didn't know how to handle when I would get large influxes of people like coming at me. I was really terrible on handling criticism. I was terrible at handling trolls. I was terrible overall at everything on the internet. I was just a goody-goody two-shoes Christian boy trying to do the right thing with a lot of people screwing around with me. And when I say that, it's not an understatement. You know, back in the day when my channel first started, it was a Christian channel. My audience, my first 10,000 subscribers, almost up to 15, 20,000 subscribers, were primarily a Christian audience. I made videos on Jesus and how to become a Christian. So there was a lot of people in the atheist community at that time that really tried to screw around with me, and boy, were they successful. But I want to give kudos to whoever took that original photo and altered it in the way that they did. Genius troll move. It was really difficult for me to even attempt to debunk because, you know, you have the original photo and then you have the altered photo. How do I prove that I wasn't the one to Photoshop this? It was anonymous, the person who took it, submitted it, and altered it. Like, what do I do? Genius troll move. Next up, we got the whole false reporting at a university where a speaker by the name of Anita Sarkeesian was going to speak at this university about tropes and women in video games. It was the center of attention for a few months when this speaker received a false bomb threat that they were going to explode the university that this person was speaking at. And they signed the document, they signed the email and the threat to the college with my online persona. You may remember this vaguely. I made a whole video about it. I was visited by the FBI. I talked to them. I was instantly cleared. They saw through this. I explained to them that I do YouTube. I have a large following. I had made videos prior on Anita Sarkeesian in the past. Thus, I can only assume it was either a troll or someone who didn't like me. But it was kind of cool to be able to interact and talk to an actual official FBI agent. And they gave me, you know, it was just like the movies where like you get a knock at the door, they open the door and they're like, their badge comes out. They do that. And I would have never even known that they were part of the FBI because they look like normal civilians. It was quite an experience. And then eventually I ended up in a gigantic FBI document as one of the people who was falsely reported because this person had made countless threats to this other individual, and I was mentioned in this document as somebody who they spoke to, and nothing came of it because it wasn't me. Next up, I'm going to show you something that I've never showed anyone on YouTube, and that is my YouTube report history. A lot of people don't know this, but YouTube has a report history from the beginning of time, meaning the first time you've had your YouTube channel, it goes all the way back over 10 years ago, 10 plus years ago. And for whatever reason, when I started on YouTube, I really did not like the YouTuber known as Thunderfoot. I don't even know if the guy still makes videos or not, but somewhere, someplace, I flagged his video. His video's still up. You can even see it's still there. You can go there and reference it if you want. The only reason I can really think of why I reported this channel is because he was really adamant against Christianity at the time, and I was somebody who really couldn't handle people attacking my religion. And I also I reported a video by Katy Perry. I'm assuming from, look, going back in that time frame, all I can say, when I rewatched that video, I'm like, what did I possibly report it for? Cleavage, okay? That's why. I was a goody two-shoe boy. No boobies, no skin, anything in that nature is a no-no. That's the only logical conclusion I can come from that. I don't know why. Another video of MrRepzion can't take criticism. I agree with that. In that time frame, I couldn't. It's just I didn't really know how to take criticism. Anytime somebody would criticize me back in the day, I would have this feeling of always having to think that I have to change my stance, change the way that I think based upon the criticism that I was receiving. And I can't tell you that that just simply isn't the case. You can be open to hearing criticism and not have to feel like you're forced to change what you think based upon that criticism. What criticism is supposed to do is help give you a new perspective on something. It doesn't mean that you have to agree with it. It doesn't mean that you have to change the way that you think. Only that there are different perspectives all around everything that you can take in and hear, and perhaps it can expand and even make your defense of whatever your position is on whatever subject even stronger if you hear what other people have to say. Constructive criticism is good and healthy. You leaving a comment on my receding hairline, I don't really classify as the constructive criticism, but if you want to live in your delusional world where criticizing my hair makes you feel better, by all means, more power to you, I guess. So for this next controversy that I was involved in, I looked and looked and looked. I was hoping I could find some tweets about it back on my Twitter back in like 2013, 2012, but I couldn't. But I'm gonna explain the situation simply because I remember it happening very clearly. I received a lot of hate from fellow Christians over this. Back in my channel when I freshly converted out of Christianity and was living on my own, I went to an EDM concert downtown Seattle that was massive. I mean, it was massive for, I think it was like Halloween Fest or Halloween Fright. It was some big EDM concert. It had a bunch of big artists. And for that concert, I cosplayed as Deadpool. I've always liked wearing masks, cosplay masks. You've probably seen me at Emerald City Comic-Con or conventions. I usually cosplay as the Deadpool with a Pikachu hat. But outside the doors of this gigantic EDM concert, there was a street preacher. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to a rave or EDM, but the clothes that people wear there are typically lacking. There's a lot of extra skin, a lot of things popping out. Some people are almost fully, you know, not dressed. Well, as I was walking towards the line, this street preacher was yelling at women walking by him and men, couples, trying to hand out Bibles while simultaneously condemning women and men to hell based upon the promiscuous clothing that they were wearing. It was one of those fire brimstone type of people out on the street saying that you're gonna go to hell based upon your immodesty and the way that you're dressing. And me, being Deadpool, dressed up, I walked by this street preacher and I made this motion down below and said, and I'm paraphrasing, I said something to the liking of, I do this every night while looking at my porno magazines. And I walked off. That was that. Now, apparently, because my audience at the time was still like a big mixture of Christians because I had just converted out, a lot of those Christians were very, very angry that I left my religion and started going on social media claiming that I sexually harassed a priest. At the end of the day, I'll let you be the judge of that. I don't consider that sexual harassment, especially because A, I was talking about myself, 2, I didn't make any comment about him directly, and 3, what are you talking about? The guy's literally condemning people for just simply wearing a bathing suit or a lack of clothes, telling them that they're gonna burn eternity in hell. So he's allowed to, you know, point fingers, but me making a joke walking by him, making a particular hand movement that this is what I do every day, that's sexual harassment, but not somebody telling someone else what they can and can't wear. Yeah, that's completely logical, dude. On April 13th, 2014, I uploaded a video titled Being Held Accountable, where I copied somebody word for word. I plagiarized them, plain and simple. I sat down in front of a camera and said and copied their word for... I don't even know what I was thinking. It's so stupid and embarrassing that I wanted to come across as this person who knew what he was talking about when the reality of the thing that I plagiarized, I didn't even understand what I was saying. People in defense of me saying that I didn't plagiarize anybody, just copying somebody's words is not plagiarizing. Let me be really frank. It is. I copied what this person said and did and presented it as my own idea or my own thought process when it simply wasn't. But every once in a while, it does get brought up, and in the description of that video, I highlight that nothing like this will ever happen again in future content. So when I stole that video, that same week, I remember this perfectly. That same week, I was in a Christian literature class, and we were reading the book, The Old Man and the Sea, and one of my assignments was to write a 4-page essay on the old man in the scene and pull out some Christian interpretation. Again, this was a Christian literature class, so not like just classic literature, it's classic Christian literature where we have to pull out these weird meanings. And I went onto this website, I copy and pasted 4 pages of something, and I gave it to my teacher. I'm like, hey, here you go. I was basically just so lazy and didn't want to actually do it that I just copy pasted it, presented it, and plagiarized it. This was the same week that I plagiarized that YouTube video. I still don't know what exactly I was thinking doing this, but it was wrong. I apologized, and I vowed that I would never ever do something like that again, which is actually why now when I make content on YouTube, specifically my X-Files series, I source videos that I use as much as I can, because I always want to post, if I'm using clips, I always want to post where I'm using it from. Citing your sources is really important, and that all started and stemmed from this major screw-up I did. There was actually another incident where I uploaded a video called Defining Myself in this horrible cringe black and white filter where I was reading off of a blog post, and it's very clear that I was reading this. Comparisons to choose from, black and white reminders of categories that no real person could ever fit in. I was told one day that I had to fit into categories, that I had to be something. I had to be able to explain exactly what kind of person I was in order to decide what kind of person I
wanted to be someday. So what is it, you might ask? What is it that I have to give to you? And the answer is a piece of me. I've skirted around this idea that I started as a whole person and that I lost pieces of myself along my long journey of life. I want to fall in love deeply with a woman and show her all that I can offer her. I can offer her more than most guys my age can.
You are so stupid. What is this? The beginning of Mr. Incel? This just proves out of touch of reality that you were, Daniel. I have so much to offer. Unconditional love, a little piece of me. Now granted, I was a teenager. I didn't even know how to talk to a woman. That video got posted on Reddit cringe thread, and not being able to handle the amount of people calling me cringe and making fun of me, I deleted the video because I was super embarrassed that I was reading off this blog that I was really inspired by. The key point is that the blog that I was reading, I actually linked the blog in the description, but when I deleted the video, people mirrored my video, re-uploaded it, and then didn't link the blog that I originally had source and started claiming that I plagiarized this person's blog. I did not. And this is one of the many reasons that I try not to delete videos ever. I think over the course of my entire channel on YouTube, I've only removed, I think, roughly about 7 or 8 videos in total. Because it just seems like when you try to remove a video, people are going to mirror that, and that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. But then key context is left out, and the description of, because every video you upload has a description box. I don't know if you guys know that, but there's a little button that says show more. You click that, it expands, and you can see videos and links and timestamps and sources. And it frustrates me a lot because that's what happened. And the people who mirrored the video that I deleted didn't like me, so they left it out for simply as a way to get back at me, claiming that I did the same thing previously, but I didn't. January 22nd, 2013, I made a video titled Response Choosing to Pass is Beautiful. And then I later added, after a lot of people expressed concern, I support euthanasia. Now in this video, I talk about a documentary on the author known as Terry Pratchett, which happens to be one of my favorite authors. There was a documentary video posted on YouTube of him going through the process of euthanasia because he was diagnosed with a terminal, keyword, terminal illness. The documentary was centered on his Alzheimer's disease, and he was diagnosed as terminal, and he chose to take a pill, fall asleep, and pass. Now, a large majority of people agreed with me on that video, but the controversy arises is because in that video I said that choosing euthanasia, to not alive yourself when you are terminally ill, you're in pain, agonizing, suffering pain, there's no fix, there's no cure. I used the term beautiful to describe that. Now, whether people agree or disagree, this is one thing that I'm gonna stand really solid on, is that being on your deathbed with your parent, sibling, whoever it is, being next to them, being able to hold their hand when they go through the process of euthanasia, being surrounded by family, being alleviated from suffering and pain, I find that beautiful. I still stand by that statement. But leave it to the people who didn't like me, who really had a hate boner for me. They decided that they would focus on this video and what I said, twist it, and claim that I was promoting people to not alive themselves. That if you're depressed, that you should just go out, and that's a beautiful act. No, 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 no. I even made a follow-up video because I got some backlash titled Not Alive Clarified, where I went into further detail highlighting the documentary series on terminal illnesses and how euthanasia in certain states in America, it is legal to do. My state of Washington, they allow euthanasia. If I find out next week that I am terminally ill, there's no cure, and I'm gonna be suffering and my brain's gonna, just dissolve, and I'm not gonna be able to speak, I'm not gonna be able to feed myself, I'm not gonna be able to do anything, I'm just gonna be in agonizing pain, I wanna be able to take a pill and not suffer and have my family see me suffer. That is my right, it is my choice to my life, under the circumstances of being terminally ill. On May 21st, 2014, I uploaded a video called Addressing Respect It. The original video was uploaded in 2010 or 2011 when I was a teenager, and at the time I had less than 25,000 subscribers, and I'm just gonna show a few clips of this video. This is very, very, very old. I don't even have a high school diploma, for God's sake, because I was homeschooled, so slap in the face right there. I don't really know how else to word it like that. There's nothing anyone could say to me to change my mind about wanting to die. So I've set a date
I told my parents, I told them this just yesterday, and, you know, my dad thinks I'm joking. My mom knows I'm not. I said, I will be dead by 25. I had a reason, I had a value system. Like, I had a reason to live because I was doing something, or I was doing something that gave me value for my life. And those things that once gave me value for my life, they're no longer applicable, because things have changed. I've seen too much pain in my life. I've seen too much stuff happen, and I just don't want to live. I've been struggling for so long that it's not even a fight anymore. I don't want to live. I have no motivation to live right now, and I'm sure people are going to mirror this video and say, Daniel's attention whore, Daniel's trying to get attention and he wants people to feel sorry for you. Fuck your pity. I don't want people feeling sorry for me. I don't want people thinking anything besides, Daniel doesn't want to live anymore, and I should respect that.
This video highlighted the fact that I didn't believe that I was going to live past age 25. Due to my upbringing, due to stuff that happened to me in my teenage years, I was going through one of the worst times of my life, and I used YouTube as an outlet to express my not alive thoughts, and basically said, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do myself in by this age, I'm probably not gonna live past 21 or 25. It was a really personal, deep, screwed up video, and if it's honestly one of my top 2 biggest regrets is publishing this video on the internet, and it was only up for less than 10 minutes on my channel. I remember when I uploaded the video, I was genuinely not alive. Like, I was thinking I was genuinely in a horrible place. The police got called, they did a wellness check on me, but here I am. I'm 30 years old, I got past age 21, I got past age 25. If there's one thing I could go back and change, it is uploading this, because I don't know if that video ever affected anybody in a negative way. And even though I had a very small number of subscribers at that time, I know for a fact that at least 200 people saw that video. And I don't know those 200 people. And if I scared anybody, if I made people worried, I'm so sorry. That was so irresponsible for me to upload. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to handle my emotions. I didn't know how to handle the thoughts that I was having that were really destructive. And I just said to myself, hey, I'm gonna upload it to YouTube. Why? Because it was my only way to communicate that I was crying for help. That's what I was doing there. So crying for help is manifested in a lot of different ways. Some people do Facebook posts, some people make tweets, some people make videos, some people don't say anything and just disappear, you know? It was so irresponsible to upload that and not think of how it could affect other people. It took almost 2 to 3 years for me to even make my video addressing Respect It, because it would often get brought up as criticism against me, saying, look, he did this, he uploaded this. Yeah, I did. I've never denied that. It was wrong, irresponsible, and I don't know what else I can say other than the video does not apply. I'm alive and well. There is always a tiny bit of light at the end of the tunnel, although it may not seem like it. At that time in my life, I didn't realize the responsibility I have as a content creator, as a influencer, if you want to call me that, although I don't like that label. When you have a large following, you have a responsibility for what you post, how you post it, the things that you say and that you do. And in the early teenage years of my life on this platform, I failed a lot at that. I would like to give a fair warning to these next 2 things I'm going to be talking about. They deal with racial issues, and what you're about to see or hear may make you feel uncomfortable. However, I have to do this for transparency's sake, so it's out there permanently, because this is also something that I've never, ever addressed.
Don't do it, whatever. He said, you y'all giving y'all niggas come on that ain't grown here and shit like we did. Ain't did nothing like we did. He's a young nigga. He just came to the school, nigga, a couple of years ago. He said, look at right here, nigga. He said, I've been around for us a day one. Hey, come on, now. Do this to the nigga. But when they jumped, they escaped. Remember the escape? Yeah. He said, all you niggas rolled. Exactly. And they escaped the people near the house. You there? Escaped from there. I'm looking at it. Wow. Yeah. Get this stuff. Leonard found out. But escape is dirty and some shit. So let me find the fuck out of shit. You telling me you the better niggas? They're about to fight. For real. I'm literally saying, oh, there's only niggas doing quiet for it. Exactly. The real niggas. There's not the real niggas that was there for fake work. Hit us in the world. This young niggas come along, talk about G-Dub and shit in the hood. They don't know shit. Yeah. You guys want to take up for this nigga? Oh, no. Yeah. I know that nigga was it, nigga. I know that nigga was it. Yeah, I'm clean. Yeah. Hey, you know, she need to come up here. Yeah. Time to bring her ass on here. Let's go wash these dishes together. And then you go tell her. We need to get it out. Just tell her, come on. That's how you gotta do it. Come on.
In retrospect, I still don't see anything wrong with this video because they were right outside my door just yelling at each other, and I thought it was funny, and it still is to me. However, what wasn't funny, and this is where this is so embarrassing, and this is so stereotypical of somebody who is uneducated and naive and doesn't know anything about what he has to say, is that in this video that I uploaded, I hashtagged the video with "Black people are loud." In addition, for whatever reason, I also hashtagged it with the N-word. Now, I actually don't know the ethnicity or the background of the people on the other side of the door. I have no idea. I made an assumption, and I wanted to be funny and edgy, therefore I put this into the tags of the video, not seeing anything wrong with it. Well, there is. There is no excuse for this. Me trying to be funny, me trying to be edgy, me assuming somebody's skin color, me hashtagging the N-word. At that time, I really didn't see anything wrong with that. In fact, when I first converted out of religion, I had this extreme view that I can say anything without consequence, that I am a staunch defender of freedom of speech, and no matter what I say, no matter how it is said, my freedom of speech, you can't take that away from me. This is so severely wrong and messed up, but it stems from not only a lack of education, me being completely naive, me not understanding what stereotypes and racial prejudices are, and it's so embarrassing and humiliating that I did this. It was wrong. Folks were very angry that I hashtagged it what I did, and rightfully so. That is a valid criticism. Stereotypes can in fact be harmful. Additionally, I made this post where I basically said, if you're offended by certain words, just get over it. If they piss you off, it's not my problem. I mentioned at the very end that people need to grow a backbone, and that I'm so tired of people being politically correct over words. I do need to state that I am not politically correct in any regard, and that I do not use these words the way that I used to years and years ago. I have learned that your language and the language that you use based upon your environment is really important, but also when you have large thousands of people, and it no longer reflects what I think or what I believe. Outside of that very last two sentences is that, yes, I do believe people still need to have a big backbone. My forced edgy phase was absolutely cringe. This next clip that you're about to see was January 2nd, 2016, and this is by far the most recent and last thing I said or did that caused me a lot of flack, and rightfully so, and very well deserved. What you're about to hear is really bad. First, apartment advice. Oh, I can give you plenty of apartment advice. Do not, under any circumstance, move into an apartment that is filled with, can I say it on stream? I'm gonna be racist if I say this. Wow, Daniel. I'm gonna be racist if I say this. And yet you still goddamn say it. Minorities. Not that there's anything wrong with minorities, but I moved into a low-income housing apartment, and I was the minority. And I actually got to experience what it was like to be a minority around there, and it wasn't that bad. Bruh. No, you didn't. You did not get to experience what it was like to be a minority. You don't know the first thing about being a minority, much less living in an environment where you are one. And if I could go back and answer this question, the original question was, what advice do you have for your first apartment? What I would say now, and not this horribly judgmental, semi-discriminatory statement, is that my advice for your first apartment is to find a place that is in a good location and that is safe. That's it. That's all I would say. If I could rephrase that, that would be my advice. If I could bitch slap you, Daniel, back then, if I could just grab you and shake you and say, what the fuck are you saying? What the fuck are you doing? I would. But what was bad about the apartment that I lived at, my old apartment, is the fact that I felt like I was in Africa again. I opened my door and there's kids of all different faiths and religion running around, pounding on other people's doors, not speaking any English, which is fine. I don't care if they don't speak English, but they're just really disrespectful. I had kids pissing, and some kids were even pooped. I'm not joking. In the hallway, apartment hallways. I felt like I was in Africa again. Okay, so let's just wind up. I know you're probably angry at me. I get it. You're mad. You probably hit the unsubscribe button already. I understand. If you've done that, I get it. I really do. I said I felt like I was in Africa again. I'm laughing at how terribly I worded this because what I was trying to say is that when I was in Morocco, I think it was 2012 or 2013, I did a humanitarian missions trip. It was a volunteer thing where we go and build houses for widowed women with children whose husbands have left them in the religion of Islam. In my first apartment complex, there was a family down the hall and she had roughly 7 children. There's a family from Ethiopia, and one day when I walked out to go to my car, 3 of her children were walking on the hood of my car and on the top roof and jumping up and down. I still have the dents on my car from it. And they also pulled off the Honda logo of my car, which was silver, ripped it off, jumping on the hood, the roof, and kicking my car and putting dents in it. And it wasn't just me, they were doing this with other cars too. It was my car, another car, the 3 cars in a row were all being played on with by these kids. So I went down to the leasing office and I told the lady, hey, could you please stop having their kids, vandalize my car and others. She told me that I wasn't the first person to complain about this, and it's becoming a really big issue, and that they would have their other leasing agent who speaks Ethiopian go up and talk to her and her children because they didn't speak English. When I said this statement, it felt like I was in Africa again. What I was trying to say, and I failed epically, is that a lot of the children in where I was stationed were like that. They would just break things, jump on other people's cars. Hell, kids would come up to you in the city of Fez and try pickpocketing me and my group and other people. I was trying to make a comparison that the children where I was living and my experience in Africa, the children acted very similar. One could argue that children act this way regardless of where they're located. But that's what I was attempting to try to say, and it came out very generalizing and racist, and for that I apologize for. The way that I worded this entire clip was just completely screwed up, and it was wrong. And I'm sorry for anybody who this hurt or made upset or made uncomfortable, because it's very, very justified given the context of what was said, and I understand how people could come to that conclusion and think that I actually have a problem with minorities based upon my own words. Trust me, I don't. I'm currently dating one right now, and they are wonderful, wonderful, kind, loving people. On a not so serious post, there was a rumor going around that I like to take peanut butter and put it on my apples for my dog. This was a joke, but that joke stemmed from this post right here. And somebody asked, what are my thoughts on humans and animals doing the coitus, the jiggy? And as you can see here, my response is, nope, nothing's wrong with it. If something humps your leg, that means it's consensual. This is a joke. I was joking. Maybe it's a gross joke, whatever, but this was pure and simple a joke. I do not support this at all. I was being ironical for the sake of being ironic. Because if you think about it, like what consent is, if an animal comes up and humps your leg, that doesn't mean that you're consenting to having your leg humped. That's the whole point. But apparently my joke went over some people's heads and people thought I was actually serious. I assure you, I was not. I do not support that. And I do not place peanut butter on my apples for my dog. Now this next and final post that you're about to see is bad. I still hold to the belief that what people do in the privacy of their own home, adults being adults, is none of my business. However, the post that you're about to see is extremely not educated. In fact, I spoke misinformation when I made this post because data and statistics suggest otherwise. It's just proof that I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. And the fact that I find this to be absolutely not only disagreeable, it no longer reflects what I think about this, and I find it to be absolutely gross. Somebody asked me what my opinion on consensual family Now, one of the first things you see is that I quote, I see no reason one taboo shouldn't be allowed. I hate this. This is simply a slippery slope argument because then you can start taking that argument to mean and use towards other justifications for other things. At what point do you divide a moral standard on certain things just because it's taboo doesn't mean it's wrong? I'm sorry, but if you are an adult and another adult and you are related and you're doing the jiggy and you're producing offspring, statistics show that the percentage of your actual defuncto, medical problems of having a offspring from that engagement is very, very high. There's a reason why families ostracize other family members in America and why so many states have this to be illegal because it's gross. And everything about this post is wrong, naive, uneducated. I spoke from a place where I was taught that these types of things, if people are adults and they're married, they can do anything and it's okay. I was taught that growing up. It's sick, twisted teachings like this that normalize people being hurt and harmed, not realizing the lifelong damaging effects it can have on offspring. This type of stuff is so normalized, especially in the Mormon church, and I really had no idea what I was talking about from such a misinformed place. And again, just like other things in the past, this does not reflect what I think now, and I need to really hammer this point, is that I had a lot of beliefs that I was raised with. One, being sex before marriage, horrible and wrong. Homosexuality, horrible and wrong. People having abortion, horrible and wrong. I'm not gonna sit here and bring up every type of teaching that I was taught. All that I can say now is that all of those things that I was taught and the way that the environment I was raised has changed, and I have grown and adapted my beliefs and disavowed almost 99.9% of everything that I associated with back into my early 19, 20, and 21 years of age time frame. 16 to 21 was the worst part of my life in terms of edgy content. I said things so uneducated on all different levels, on race issues, on having rights to your own body, on what people can wear, on what people can eat, on what people can tattoos. When you've lived a life that was so deeply rooted in a dogmatic way of life, even when you convert out, those things stick along with you. You don't just click, 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 are able to abolish all of the things that you were taught in a week, in a month. It takes years. And I can only hope that people, when they see this stuff, can look at it and say, wow, that was really, really screwed up. But I'm glad that you've come to a place where you can acknowledge publicly, bring more attention to something that the majority of the people don't know about. These are things that I said and did. And holding myself accountable publicly, because these things were said and done publicly, is the only proper way to address it. With all that said, guys, that's it. This has been the Repzion Files. It's humiliating and embarrassing, and at the end of the day, you guys can decide if you want to still watch my channel, if you want to hit that unsubscribe button. I totally understand. We live in the day and age of cancel culture. Things people say when they were young, things they said a decade ago is still used against people to discredit growth and change. That's something that I will never stand for, and I hope that you don't either. But at the end of the day, it's your choice. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week for another video.